Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Boost Your Business webinar series. And this time, we're talking about selling SEO the right way. So, as always, I'm the cute guy on the left, and I actually just came from a 4-hour learning session with the Digital Marketing Institute where I had to do a lecture. And I am feeling those 18 years of web experience. So, as always, I'm Bernard, and I work for you at SEO Reseller, and a lot of you will have met me already, and for those that don't, I look forward to actually meeting you guys, or at least speaking with you guys on the phone. For this discussion, I thought it would be perfect to bring William on board again, and I'll let Will, as always, do his own intros.
Yeah, so it's Will, guys. I know some of you have spoken to me before, but for those who haven't, well, we'll talk soon. But just to talk about myself briefly, I started as a web designer, and I had basic knowledge of SEO. As of today, I've learned so much from SEO Reseller, and I'm still learning, and it's been awesome. And I know all about the growing pains that some of you are facing. And believe me when I say that this webinar will help you. It'll help you take a step back and see exactly where you are and how you're going to move forward.
Right, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. One of the things I think that you guys may not realize is that when you sign into to the webinar and make your responses on the survey, we do listen. I think a lot of you will be thrilled with the next Boost Your Business webinar. But for now, it is shameless plug time. So, and I promised to only do a couple. What happened during the previous Boost Your Business webinar? In the previous one, we talked about how to keep your clients and keep them coming back for more. And we showed you the stats of some of our powerhouse agencies, some of the newer people that didn't quite assimilate what the services were and how to sell them. And so we talked about knowing your baseline. You can't really set a goal for yourself if you don't know where you're coming from.
Right.
And then setting a goal for yourself if you are starting out with relationships with your clients that last 3 months, you have to figure out what it takes to get that to 6 months and get that to 9 months and a year, and hopefully more than a year. We have clients that have worked with us for over 4 years. Also, highlighting success means talking about where you added value from this month compared to last month, and usually there is a positive trend in terms of performance. Adding more value to clients, meaning don't stop yourself from just selling SEO. You have to listen to what your customers are saying and sell them something they actually need. And then, of course, never stop looking for ways to drive more business, meaning, okay, so you've gone through a 6-month contract. Is it over? Is it time to shake hands and part ways? Not necessarily. Because every business, you can only target so many keywords in a 6-month span, which means you could always move on to the next set and the next set and the next set. And all of these add value to that business that you're working with. Now, true to my word, it's shameless plug time. And this is a reputation suite. So this is a streamlined dashboard that helps you take charge of your client's online reputation. If they're a local business, they need this. What this allows you to do is manage your reputation online by taking a look at, how are people reviewing you? What properties are you listed on? Which ones have you claimed? Which ones have you not? A summary of the reviews that you've got, the locations that are listed on your business. It allows you to control your client's feedback, allows them to take control, actually, of the feedback that they have online, and actually execute activities that manage their online reputation. And then, of course, monitor feedback from the end customers, which is really the lifeblood of all businesses. In addition to that, we are launching the Partner Bootcamp series. And, this is a bit of a more technical webinar where our goal is to expand your knowledge base to help you work smarter and provide enhanced service delivery. We want to provide you expert insights on cutting-edge industry developments and methodologies and learn how to take full advantage of the dashboard, the technology, and our full suite of solutions. Now, I'm going to jump into the meat of the conversation. Before I do, I wanted to remind everyone you can feel free to use the WebEx chat in order for you to pop your questions in as soon as anything interesting comes to you while we're on the subject matter. But I'll let Will get us off on the right footing. So before that, I guess I just want to ask Will, what do you usually do, Will, because you talk to the clients the first time and you've got a very similar analogous experience with them. What happens during those first few conversations?
So when I have that first conversation with new partners, I always ask them about who they are as an agency, what they've been through, and what their plans are moving forward. Some of them, if they're not sure about who they are as an agency, also don't know how to plan for what's next.
Right. So that's sort of not surprising. The companies and the agencies and even the freelancers that we work with that have a good idea of what their identity is and who they're targeting as their target market typically ramp up and grow to become powerhouse status the fastest. So let's start off with the overview of this discussion.
So, have you guys ever closed a client and then have the opportunity to close a different client who was just like the first one, but you couldn't figure out how you did so well on the first? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. No one has ever gone from good to great just overnight. It takes time, but to start you on the right path, here are a few questions you should ask yourself and some tips to fix your mindset. So, who are you? Who are you really as an agency? Next is, what are you selling? And how do you figure out how to sell those? And more importantly, how are you going to sell it well and effectively? Some tips or things to keep in mind is, what are the most common challenges and objections you face? And last thing is, what are the do's and don'ts?
So just as a teaser for everybody, I know that this webinar is not enough to cover the most common challenges and objections. So we are going to start that topic off with this, but eventually we want a full webinar covering the most common challenges and objections because we like listening to your feedback on whenever you guys enroll to the webinar. And this is a lot of things that, a lot of you filled in the survey questions, like how do you overcome this issue and how do you overcome that issue? And I think I didn't see any entry there that we were not familiar with, and so I would love to be able to discuss those with you at length. Again, feel free to send your questions in advance in the WebEx chat. So let's talk about knowing who you are. So knowing who you are allows you to identify who your target market is, right? Like, what kind of provider are you?
Right. So, a good way to tell who you are as a partner or as an agency is by identifying who exactly is your target market. Do you work closely with local professionals or local service providers in your area? Are you more comfortable with that? Or are you targeting e-commerce sites that cater to customers from all over the country or even the whole world? Or are you focused on just a single industry and you're the expert in online marketing for them within their niche? In short, who are your customers?
Right, because that sort of tells you what kind of agency you are, right? Are you a local authority? Are you a national authority? Are you a national powerhouse? What are you trying to set up your agency to be? So I'll start off with one of our agency partners in Australia. We started working with them about 3 years ago. They'd never sold SEO before, but they decided to position themselves as the local authority in SEO. They studied our methodology, and now, they're not just limited to within their own city. They're growing things nationwide. One of the things to remember that they did really well, they understood that clients will buy from you if you have enough confidence in your service to use it yourself. And so, they would not have been able to manage to beat everybody for the keyword SEO city. So what they did was they hit up the full term search engine optimization and the cities that they targeted, or actually their specific city. And they showed that, we're number one for this term, which allowed them to leverage the authority bias. And now they've got a gamut of clients from all over the country. The second one is one of our partners in the UK, and they specialized in web design. They initially had access to a dental network, and they had no SEO experience whatsoever. But they learned the methodology, they studied it, they tried to figure out, are we going to stay within this niche? Are we going to go to another vertical? But they decided to stay with the people they knew, the industry they knew, because their ability to find common ground with this profession specifically was already tremendous. They have since grown to monthly recurring revenues of £30,000 to £40,000 every month, and I think that's amazing. So, what is the practical application of this section of the webinar? the practical application is, in order for you to execute a growth hack against your business, you need to find a niche that you're familiar with or have history with. Like, take for example, I am passionate about toys. If any of you have seen my LinkedIn profile, I say how many toys I've got on display in the office, in my room. I just bought my 400th Transformer 5 weeks ago. So I'm passionate about toys. What a lot of people also don't know is that I'm a flooring expert. I worked for 4 years with the largest online retailer of flooring in the U.S. I am literally a flooring expert. I can install hardwood, laminate, engineered wood, you name it. Pergo, Milliken, that's a carpet. So, I'm a pro at that. It would be easy for me to sell guys in these verticals our services because I have a history with them. With toys, I have a natural passion for it, and with flooring, I have a history with the industry. What you want to do is begin with a niche that you're familiar with or have history with, because it allows you to leverage common ground immediately, and common ground is one of the most powerful objection breakers there are. One of the other things that I wanted to share with you guys is one of our partners in Rhode Island. We have a partner that happens to be a lawyer there, and instead of competing with his colleagues, he decided to offer an adjunct service to the industry, and so he services only lawyers. What that allows him to do is it allows him to sit comfortably with his peers, speak their language, and they don't have to feel threatened. They're being talked to by a competitor. They're being talked to by somebody that can offer them a service that understands what their needs are because he was there. Again, common ground, tremendous for breaking ice, tremendous for breaking objections, and so on and so forth. This is the practical application of this section of the webinar. Moving on, I want to talk about defining what you're capable of selling, and this is really the services that we offer you.
So now that you've sort of figured out who your initial market is or who you're familiar with, the next thing is you have to assess what you're capable of selling to them. You need to know the scope of your business and what you're currently limited to. Now, do your clients actually need all the services for them to compete in your industry? Like, do they need SEO all the way to branding? You got to figure that out. And next is figuring out what commodities are you providing them with. Just like McDonald's, they sell consistency and predictability, and Rolex sells achievement or success. So what commodity are you projecting? We'll tackle this later on in the webinar.
Right, and I want to remind everybody that we're being very careful when it comes to the verbiage of saying, commodity versus product, because we'll make a differentiation on this later.
Yeah.
I've always said McDonald's doesn't sell burgers. Actually, if you take a look, they're a real estate company. They're not primarily a food chain. But, McDonald's doesn't sell burgers. The burgers are the commodity. People keep coming back because they're looking for that consistent experience, and they've learned to leverage that invisible. So we have a lot of commodities that you are able to resell. It is, SEO or PPC or social or web development or branding services. And as of this moment, we only have about three powerhouse partners that are capable of selling more than 3 of our services. So imagine that, only 3 partners we have relationships with for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
And they're only capable, and they've only mastered 3 to 4 of our services. It takes time to build the expertise. Be a pro at SEO before you decide to be a pro at SEM and don't decide to be a pro at SEM at the same time. And don't try to be a pro at SEO, SEM, and social at the same time. Develop your revenue stream one at a time. Don't try to be an expert at everything all at the same time. So what's the practical application of this in terms of, knowing what you're selling? So we have had 2 business coaches so far that were our partners. And the business coach partner had an initial strong list of 49 people already in his active client list. However, how he sold our service was he would launch a 3-pager website for them, do on-page optimization on the 2nd month, and then in place of link acquisition and content marketing, he offered them social media services in place of the links.
Wow.
The problem there is that For anybody that knows their SEO, gaining likes and gaining social vouchers are not the same as earning backlinks. And it's not the same, absolutely not, as content marketing. So what happened was he achieved short-term success. He actually managed to onboard all 49 clients, but he couldn't maintain them because somewhere in the second or third month, his clients were beginning to doubt the value of what he was selling, and he had to resell them over and over and over again. So what is the moral of this story? You have to sell a service that your customers need. You can't be a good enough salesman to keep selling them a service they don't need. And then the sharpest skill that you can bring onto the table in a sales pitch is the ability to listen. The most important selling skill is asking the right questions. And don't be ashamed of walking away from a sale you shouldn't close. This is a very important lesson we learned. We know that we're not the cheapest providers. We know that we're not the simplest providers, but that's because our market is a specific niche. We like to provide value. We like to provide results. And so when our partners and we don't see eye to eye, we try not to take money from people for whom we can't add value to. No longevity exists by selling people a mismatched service based on how expectations were set. Now, given that, let's talk about differentiation. Because remember, you're not the only person that knows how to do this, and you're not the only person that's going to walk into that boardroom to try to do a pitch.
Now, this slide is a personal favorite of mine because it's helped me a lot. And I can't wait for you to actually bring up the practical application of this. So I guess it's all about assessing what makes you different from your competitors, what makes you stand out. Now, are you cost effective? Is it because it's really based on your target market's ability to spend? Do you have that technological edge by having access to the latest online tools or experts in your company? Or simply your methodology is different, but it definitely works? So these are three questions that your unique selling point needs to answer. Right. What would make me transact with your business? What differentiates your product or service from others? And what can you provide that others cannot guarantee?
Right. So what we're trying to teach you guys is, being the cost-effective provider, being the guy with the technological edge, and the one with the effective methodology. When you try to position yourselves, don't try to position yourselves as all. Yeah. Primarily position yourselves as one. Don't try to leverage all of them, because when you try to project yourself as a jack of all trades, you become a master of none. Be a master of one. So how do you use this when you're on the pitch? Here's another practical application and a case study. One of our more successful partner agencies actually sells our services cheaper than everybody else. In the previous Booster Business webinars, we've always consistently told you that all our partners sell our services at double to triple our rates. And it still remains competitive pricing-wise. So the partner essentially sells a DIY service, and this is their differentiator from everybody else in the market. By not having to handhold, babysit, and whatnot, they're able to lower their costs because they don't have to hire an army of project managers to manage a dozen clients. So he specifically sells them our services, and he sells them in a way that they're self-service. So he educates them for the first few weeks prior to intake. And by selling it at a lower cost, meaning the maximum markup that he ever does is 100% margin, and at times he starts off with a 50% margin. He sells the services like a self-service campaign, and then it doesn't wind up being a large, noticeable expense in a monthly financial statement. This either allows the client to be more patient, because the larger the price that you pay off, the stronger the buyer's remorse, and the faster the gratification requirement is. But because of the lower price, he's able to extend the time expectation. He's able to get it ignored several months and just get it renewed and renewed and renewed, which I think was a very smart, brilliant move, because it's real. And I noticed that from my own practices when I review our financial statements. He sells in volume because, again, they don't have to be half a dozen salespeople to manage a dozen clients, and he doesn't try to sell like a premium provider, and he sets expectations. He tells them, in order for this to work, the methodology will work, but you have to collaborate. Here's your dashboard. Here's the service. Here's your dashboard. Here's how you monitor it. Here's all the work that's being done for you. Here's where you approve, you disapprove, and so on and so forth. and then he just sends them the bill month over month over month. Now, remember that he doesn't ignore his customers. He allows them to reach out to him over and over, but they know that he's not the hand-holding type. Still, he managed to build a powerhouse agency around that. So the moral of the story is it doesn't really matter how you differentiate, because a lot of our partner agencies, they differentiate in one way or another, but that doesn't necessarily make them more or less successful than the others. What matters is that you differentiate. You must differentiate from the competition. So moving you on to the next topic, let's talk about what you're selling. So essentially what you're selling are our services. But I'll let William take this one because he talks to you guys about this every day.
Right. So most of the partners that we've worked with have had in one way or another their own understanding of SEO. And there are the very few who are able to understand how effective the methodology is. So for the partners who are just getting started, we implore you to understand how it all works through us. Because over the years, we've had to endure many of the challenges that our industry had to throw at us. And we've adapted, we've learned, and we've grown from them. So below are a few statistics that we're proud of, and I guess we're very confident in sharing with you. And these are historical trends, by the way. They're not guarantees. Each site or campaign is different and will require your careful analysis. They're just meant to assure your clients the right way.
Right.
So we've got it where we can rank 80% of websites for reasonable target terms.
Yep. And I stress reasonable target terms. Continue.
We can get 60% of keywords to first page within 6 months or less.
Yep.
We can also drive up to times 22 ROI per dollar spent.
Yeah, and I can vouch for this through an end client's testimonial.
And clients typically stay faithful to the service for over a year.
Right.
That says a lot too.
Right, it does, because that shows you how effective the methodology actually works. So one of the things that you need to remember is inside the conversation, if your clients were experts at SEO, why would they need to hire you, right? You are walking in there armed with a methodology that ranks 80% of websites, 60% of their keywords on the first page, and 6 months or less can drive up to 22 time factor ROI that people love to use continuously for over a year. If they had this in their toolkit, they wouldn't need to hire you, and this is the value that you bring to the table. But when you come to the table, you need to understand you're the pro, you're the expert. You have to explain the SEO methodology, you have to be transparent, and don't forget to pitch alternative solutions and look for other areas of opportunity. Remember that on the pitch, the most valuable skill is listening. Your customer tells you in one form or another they need immediate results. Then it's quite possible that SEO is not the solution, right? And you might need to move that conversation over to SEM. But let me move this to a practical application. So the practical application is about you using the resource center to your advantage. And I know that this slide, is a little self-serving. I try to keep going back to the resource centers. It does. A lot of our clients will swear by how effective they are. And the reason we built it is, because of consistent public demand. When you walk into that pitch, you are going to have 30 minutes to 1 hour at best. When you walk in, 9 out of 10 business owners have never heard about SEO. Chances are they will want you to explain every element of it, bullet by bullet by bullet. You're not going to have the time to do that. If you respect their time and they respect yours, what you need to do is bring a structured pitch deck. It allows you to leverage the cheerleader bias of positive experience. The pitch deck shows them the things that they did right and the things that you can do for them. You need to bring a methodology explainer because you're not going to have the chance to explain bullet by bullet what each element of the SEO package is. And it allows you to be the pro. Remember, you're giving them all this value before the first dollar is spent. And it allows you to leverage the authority bias because the moment they read through the methodology explainer, they will have more questions. Guess who they're going to ask the moment they have more questions? You, which then positions you well as the authority in the field. And then the last bit is, of course, testimonials. There are white label testimonials where end clients send us feedback about what they think of the methodology and how it helped them. And this allows you to leverage a bias that's called groupthink. And that's the reason why it's there. they are speaking about the methodology that you will use. So using all of these allows you to effectively use that 30-minute to 1 hour window for better chances to close the sale. It isn't meant, to distract the client away from what's important to them. But remember that you don't learn anything by talking about SEO. You learn something by figuring out what their business goals are, and that's your job. Your job is to help them. If you don't manage to ask your questions and identify the needs, you will not have provided good service in that pitch. So let's talk about managing the experience. Now, before I get into that, I just want to remind everyone, the chat box is available for you guys to throw your questions at us. Feel free to send them in at any time. So let's talk about managing the experience. And one of the things I'm most proud of, we have been around for 5 years, and building a methodology, I can say it's got its days and it's got its days. But, personally, I love it. I love breaking things apart and piecing them together. One of the things that we had to break apart was figuring out in our early days, why we had first trimestral cancellations. Because it is painful to us for people to try our methodology for 100 days and then leave it. Because, it feels like what went wrong. We tried to add the most value, or as much value as we could. And what we realized was that, this is talking about immediate gratification. Customers, as soon as they pay the bill, look for immediate gratification and look for reinforced gratification, especially during the first 30 to 60 days. Therefore, we built a service that allows you to overcome buyer's remorse based on how it's built. The methodology operates off of frequent touch points within the first 30 days. The strongest milestones happen within the first 60 days as long as all recommendations are implemented. Regular reporting and less collaborative activity, sort of happens afterwards, where clients are expecting that the work is moving forward and they're seeing a positive trend, and it's moving forward and there's a positive trend. Increased frequency, though, in our presence and our need for collaboration will exist. Remember, we're SEOs. We live, to make things visible. We live to rank things. And sometimes we'll do a review in somebody's search console and realize that this term with 1,000 impressions only gets 3 clicks. And it's on position 5, and with a little nudge of better on page, more quality content, different content formats on a page, we could probably nudge it above the fold. And so we will increase the frequency of touch points again. Let me show you this in a graphic representation. This is what the methodology looks like, in a flowchart. Even before the first dollar is spent, the black line, that is the pre-intake. We're already working for you. Our project managers are walking you through the dashboard. We're explaining the methodology. But more than that, from the end client's perspective, we're already assessing their website. We are already paying an SEO to take a look at the website, to tell you whether that's a fight you can win or not. And so our SEOs will execute an actual audit and tell you, yes, good campaign to rank, here's where we think the opportunities are, and so on and so forth. Now, as soon as the invoice is paid, the campaign officially launches, and this is where the interaction begins. We send the intake forms to you, you send them over to the customer. We execute the keyword research, you must get their sign-off on it. We provide you with access to the white label dashboard, you create their access to the white label dashboard. We create the on-page structural report in about 7 to 10 days. We give you the new content for the website. We execute somewhere in between as soon as you get the credentials, and then we send you the executive summary, a minimum of 6 touch points in the first 30 days spread throughout those 30 days. Within the second month, the implementation QA happens, meaning after the on-page is executed, we monitor for 2 to 3 weeks if the site has performed according to our expectations. And as soon as it does, we like the cheerleader bias. We will be your first cheerleaders, and we'll tell you, hey, are you seeing how the rankings are going? 5 days prior to the end of that month, we send you the executive summary. And again, the first 2 executive summaries typically bear the strongest results of the methodology. On the 3rd month, we sort of wean off of the more frequent conversations, off of the more frequent touch points, and then, you just get a monthly executive summary over and over and over again. But by this time, your client will have had so much of your attention that, they will have learned they love it, and they begin to trust you. And, the executive summaries become good enough and good enough and good enough. And this is essentially what we do to retain clients. Now, again, barring the fact that there are more opportunities that we see, and we do look for them, We will then go back to some of the touch points that happen on month one. But typically, this is how it's executed. We built a methodology that allows you to overcome buyer's remorse. So I'll move on to understanding the technology. And I'll let Will do this because, to be perfectly honest with everybody, I think Will's dashboard walkthrough has gotten to the point where it's gotten better than mine. And I'm proud of that whenever I see that. So, Will, talk about our technology.
Thanks, Burns. Okay, so now let's talk about how you guys can understand the technology, or how I understand it too. But think about it. How does the technology help you work smarter? When we started a few years ago, and I know about the horror stories and a lot of what we had to look at or to help us manage campaigns were just spreadsheets.
Google Docs.
Right, and a lot of the data that we had to collate and analyze. In short, it was painful working that way.
Yeah.
Right? So today, the agency and white label dashboard, they've become the solution to how I manage it, how you guys manage it, and your clients manage it as well. It was the natural advancement of similar agencies just like us. And it's become the standard, I guess, for all white label SEO agencies.
Yeah, I would think so. Every respectable agency executes or manages one form of a white label dashboard or another. Although, I'm biased. I love ours the best. I think ours is the most accurate, and so on. But, enough selfish plugging.
So when I say that the dashboard is capable of viewing all your deliverables in real time, you can check your rankings daily. You can integrate that traffic from Google Analytics, and you can see it daily as well. And all that your client gets to see. Now, you wouldn't know all of that. You wouldn't have known any of that if me personally, if you've spoken to me before and I've given you one, you wouldn't have understood the value of that if we never had that conversation. So you need to have that conversation with your client. It'll help you identify the level of understanding that your client currently has. And it'll steer that line of questioning. So leverage the technology and talk to your clients at their level. Don't assume that your clients already know just how good the technology is. Who knows? Maybe it's all they need to hear.
Right. So the dashboard's primary capabilities were built around the spirit of allowing you to view the work in real time. See the rankings daily because we do our own proprietary technology scrapes. So our ranking reports are not an API from anywhere. We built that technology. See traffic reports on a daily basis. And, show your customers their own dashboards. And then, of course, coming soon, because we never stop looking for ways to add value to you, we are creating the Reputation Suite, my shameless plug, somewhere around slide 4. That was it. Where your client, you will see and they will see where they're published online and see their reviews of their site and their business. Now, I've got a practical application. Actually, this one's not so much a practical application as it is, yeah, it is. It's an awesome story. I never forgot it. This was 2 years ago. So I'm not sure if people out there will remember, but there was this surprise snowstorm somewhere in the Midwest. If it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. We had a partner in the Midwest, and there was a snowstorm. There was a surprise snowstorm that nobody expected, and his customer sort of woke up on the wrong side of the bed. The wife was PMSing, and the daughter decided that she was going to be the most ungrateful child ever born on the face of the planet. He wasn't having a great morning.
Right.
Add to that the fact that there's a surprise snowstorm. He just had normal tires, or he's got normal tires on his cars. He has to change up the chained wheels before he's able to drive off to work. And at this point, he's really late. Somewhere during the travel from house to work, he gets a blowout on one of the tires. He gets a blowout on one of the chain tires. And I didn't even know that could happen. But they are swearing this is real, and I love stories. The client has decided the customer has decided this is going to be a horrible day. It's going to be a horrible day. So he calls for a tow, and in the meantime, there's nothing to do. Might as well get some work done. One of the things that he sees in his email is the link coming from our partner, giving him the URL, the username, and the password for their dashboard. Follows the link, logs in, and it's incidentally 2 to 3 weeks past the implementation of the on-page, where we typically expect the strongest results, and voila, everything is green. It made his day. He was so happy. that he dialed up the partner all the way until the tow truck came in, and the partner immediately gave us a call and told us that story. I've never forgotten it. But this is sort of a moral to why you need to use a dashboard. You never know when it makes a difference. The dashboard is like the scoreboard, and I'm going to exaggerate on the value of the scoreboard for a bit. For you guys that watch basketball or football or the NFL or baseball or whatever it is, can you imagine watching a sporting event where that little widget in the middle is missing? You don't know who's shot how many hoops, you don't know how many three-pointers there were, who's got how many fouls, and so on and so forth. You don't even know how long into the game you are. So how interesting would it be to watch a sporting event that was like that, where you have no clear picture of who's winning and who's not? That is what your dashboard does. That's what your dashboard does for your customers. It gives them a sense of gratification that they invested with the right agency. It is your scoreboard. You need it in their face all the time. It literally makes the experience with you more enjoyable. So let's talk about learning how to sell, more effectively, because this is sort of what we're trying to talk about in this webinar. Let's talk about differentiating commodity versus product. And William talked about in a book called Selling the Invisible, which is really where we get a lot of this from. Yeah. He differentiates very well between what a commodity is and what a product is. And the product is essentially the invisible thing that you're getting them to emotionally buy into. The commodity is the good or the service, right? McDonald's commodity is the burger. The product is the consistent service, the consistent quality, but all the consistency, consistent colors, uniform, speed, everything is consistent. At Starbucks, they offer the same thing. They offer a second place. They offer you the comfortable second or third place, right? They offer you that comfortable second place, and Starbucks tries to nurture the human spirit one cup at a time. But Starbucks' actual product, is a consistent experience also. It's a consistent experience for anybody looking for that quiet place where they could, spend time for themselves and whatnot. The coffee is the commodity. The product is the experience. Same is true for Nike, the spirit of adventure. What's the commodity? The shoes. Same for Rolex. They're selling you watches as the commodity, but the product is achievement. Or the best one, the beers. Yep. Right? How dare they sell forever? How dare they sell eternity? And yet they do. And they do this successfully. The commodity is a diamond. The product is a commitment, right? So you have to differentiate between your product and your commodity. The commodity is our service. And the experience, that's the product, right? What kind of experience are you trying to sell them? Are you trying to offer them convenience, a one-stop shop for all their digital marketing needs where they can get their SEO and their SEM and their web design and their branding requirements, all in one place? Or are you trying to offer them premium experience, meaning you will be the best consultant they ever talked to about SEO that they've ever met? Or are you offering them a plug-and-play experience? Again, it doesn't matter which one you are. All that matters is that you're one of them. The other is, for some of our partners, performance is their product, and they commit to specific traffic results, specific ranking results, or a specific ROI. Let me give you a practical application immediately right after this. But before that, I want to give you a do. Define your commodity and product and make sure your sales team knows it by heart, that everybody's selling the same way. If it's a premium experience, everybody needs to talk premium. And, if it's convenience, make sure that everybody is upselling other services to remind customers that we're, everything under one roof. Now, remember, don't just sell a product, though. It's not enough that you differentiate your commodity versus your product. Inside the pitch, don't sell the product, sell the solution. Highlight the problem and let them know why you're the answer to that problem. So here's the practical application. And this is a case study with one of our more successful partners. This partner only offers a premium experience. They sell nothing under $2,000 monthly contract, minimum contract 6 months at retail. If the results they project past the 6 months are not met, They actually foot the bill for themselves. But this is what they're selling. They're selling a premium experience, their expertise, one-on-one time with their account managers, experts, people that actually have spent a lot of time with us and with me personally to get trained on how our SEO works, things they might not know, questions, that curveballs that customers throw them that they need advice on, but they understand the methodology and they trust it. And they guarantee the increase in traffic and performance only if the site owner gives them free reign on the website, meaning if we recommend it, you implement it. Otherwise, we can't guarantee that the methodology will meet the requirement. And other than that, it allows them to close the sale by creating a security blanket. When there is, even an informal guarantee, even an informal promise of a certain result, it allows a buyer to make a purchase with a certain sense of security. And so with that sense of security, you diminish the feeling of buyer's remorse. And in my opinion, it's an amazing application of this method. Now, I want to go back. This is our previous conversations from the previous webinar, and it's about, acing the pitch. What I want to do in order to help you ace the pitch is essentially maximize the use of that time. Arrange a pre-planning meeting. Meet with your project manager, ask them for advice. Qualify the client, execute the pre-site audit. Know if you're supposed to take that customer's money. Know if you can rank them, achieve results, add better value for their business. And then arm yourself with a pitch deck, right? Arm yourself for the pitch by downloading the pitch deck, preparing a proposal, and running an audit report. These save you time, which is what our objective was. Our objective is, for you guys to spend quality time with the customer, and then on the pre-intake assessment, make sure that you include the output in your presentation and cover the basic areas to improve. Don't get stuck in a methodology conversation. Don't get stuck in a 2-3 hour methodology conversation, because it can last that long. I could probably talk SEO with anybody for like 16 hours straight. But don't get stuck in that conversation. You have 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Your time is valuable when a question is flying out of your mouth. That is when you find out what the customer needs and when you're able to match it with a service that adds value. So, what are some of the most common challenges and objections during the pitch? And, on this one, this is actually sort of a teaser for the upcoming Boost Your Business webinar, where we want to talk about the most common objections and how to overcome them. So some of the objections that we get. What do I do when my potential client wants immediate results? So there's a straightforward way, and there's a way to dance around it that, I don't necessarily disagree with. The straightforward way is to tell them that SEO is momentum driven and recommend SEM as an additional service, which allows them to gain fast results while the SEO operates in the background. But the other is to explain that the time invested in waiting on the results of SEO ultimately leads to free traffic. Remember that with SEM, the moment you turn off the drip, the traffic is gone. For SEO, you invest in that keyword, in that optimization once, and you build your digital footprint right, and you've got free traffic against that keyword for a long time. And then, you keep looking for your other opportunities as you move forward. What do you do when they lack knowledge on how SEO works? This one, I really say give them the brandable resources that outline the methodology. They will review it at their own time, and they will have questions. Your objective here is to get them to desire to reach out to you. Now, before you do a pitch, make sure that you execute some prep. Know the stats on the industry and know who their competitors are. Nobody likes falling behind the competition. And if you know who their competitors are and what their opportunities to get a leg up against the competition is, you will have sold them a solution. What do you do when they think SEO costs too much? So what I like to do is, I've got a lot of figures off the top of my head that I like to tell everybody, whenever I have an appropriate opportunity. This is one of those. According to Google, 93% of buying experiences begin with a search. 60% of those searches are for local establishments. Think of the lost opportunity costs for your client. They lose 93%, or they potentially lose 93% of interested, matched customers for their business. Potential customers want to know who you are. For as early, I can say that, as early as 2002, 2003, I have never patronized an establishment I couldn't find online. And I'm seeing that practice more and more in common, with the current generation. We want to know who we're patronizing. We want to know the establishments that we frequent. We want to know who they are, what kind of service they provide. We want to see what other people have said. The internet is a very powerful tool, and Google is an oracle. Everybody wants to know ahead of time that they won't regret spending or investing their money with a specific establishment. When clients work with a previous agency that they're unhappy with, this one, easy for me. Should be easy for you too. Now, when you're working with a customer that tells you, oh yeah, well, I work with a freelancer. No offense to the freelancers, but I work with a freelancer and they got my site in trouble. What do? You can honestly tell them, no, none of my clients have been penalized, because that's sort of true. None of your clients have been penalized. And I can proudly say, our clients have not been penalized. Now, some of our customers and some of our partners are actually honest. If they've had experience with previous agencies before, previous white label providers, and they got them in trouble, they honestly come clean and say, yes, we have, and here's what we did to recover them at our expense. And I think that is tremendous good faith. Now, for us as an agency and as your provider, what we say is, we have worked with clients that have had penalties from previous providers, but we've got 100% batting average at cleaning it up and recovering from a penalty. So, these three ways are all ways in which you can truthfully respond to that question. Bullet 2, only if it's true. So, bullet 2, only if it's true. So, I want to show you guys how this webinar started, a couple of weeks ago. When we decided that this was the topic for the webinar, we asked our sales team what they wanted to discuss in terms of how to sell SEO the right way. And it became a long email thread, and I want to read you that email thread, because the content of this webinar is largely based off of that collection. So I'll let William do this.
Right. So even I had to throw in there, I won't say which one's mine because it probably isn't there. Oh, no, maybe not. But anyways, so we're just reinforcing a lot of the things that we've already said in the previous slide. So I'm just going to read through it. Do develop your revenue stream one at a time. Don't try to provide everything at the same time. Do choose one differentiator to become an expert at. Don't try to leverage all of it, because when you try to project yourself as a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. Be a master of one. Do be the SEO expert. Explain the SEO methodology and be transparent.
Yeah, be transparent. I'll just repeat it.
Right. So don't forget to pitch alternative solutions. You have to look for areas of opportunities. And do set realistic expectations from the very start. Don't offer guaranteed rankings. Don't be a yes man.
Okay, I want to hammer on that. I think for mature salespeople, sometimes no is the right answer, but of course always positively scripted. What I want to remind everybody that is, a budding salesman or does not think that they've got very mature selling skills is, I need to remind you, saying yes to everything does a tremendous disservice to your customer. Don't say yes to everything. You will provide a disservice to your customer. Set proper expectations. It is uber important.
Okay, and then do talk to your potential clients at their level of understanding. Don't assume your clients know the benefits of using your technology. Do, and the last one, is define your commodity and product, and make sure your sales team knows it by heart. Don't sell a product, sell a solution.
And I think with that, we're just about ready to wrap up, and we've got a couple of minutes to go through the Q&A. Now, for our partners, we've built the Organic SEO Pitch Kit, and it contains the Organic SEO Pitch Deck, the SEO Methodology Explainer, the SEO Flyer, the Audit Report, the SEO Catalog, and a Sales Guide. Sign up now or log into the dashboard to download the Organic SEO Pitch Kit, and it's in the Resource Center in your dashboard. So Let's move on to Q&A, and let's take a look at what you guys had to send in. Let me take a look at the first question. I'm really just seeing them for the first time now. So the first one says, and I haven't had time to review it in advance, so I don't know how easy or difficult it is. When clients checking their dashboard daily, how do you handle clients asking about a drop in rank? Awesome question. So remember how we like to talk about SEO being momentum driven. For anybody that's been in the industry a while, you will be familiar with a concept called a Google dance. Google is mitigated by almost 300 ranking factors. Not all of those ranking factors kick in exactly at the same time. Some of them happen more frequently, some of them happen less frequently. And so fluctuations in rankings are perfectly normal. What you need to get used to is to not be reactive to drops in rank. Typically, when you see drastic drops, you typically see a recovery happen in a couple of days. And it's not unusual for Google to do that. So for anybody that's, been in SEO for a while, you want to take a look at the larger trends. You don't want to take a look at, little fluctuations. It's sort of, SEO is like the climate, and sudden fluctuations in rankings are like the weather. The objective is to get the customer to take a look at the climate, not the weather. Okay, I hope that answered the question. Next is will you be offering white label webinars? That's an interesting question. I honestly don't know how to answer that yet. I'd probably have to talk to our marketing team to see if scalability options, technology options, and whatnot. So I'm not throwing it out the window. I will probably want to talk to whoever threw this question in there. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and it allows us to mass produce the education and the expertise and throw it out there for customers to hear about it. But I'll park it. But you guys need to understand that I never leave things behind in my parking lot. Next question is, by recovering with Google from being penalized, are you referring to link detox cleanup? Okay, great question. When I say a penalty, I mean, there are algorithmic penalties and there are manual penalties. And I'm saying that every now and then we intake a customer with a manual penalty. There's an actual warning, a partial match penalty, not a pure spam. We've never seen that and we would never take that. But we will see, bought links and whatnot. There's an actual message in the webmaster tools or in the search console. And when we see those, we execute a disavow and a reconsideration request. So we execute a link cleanup, meaning we remove the links, and then we send emails to the webmasters that own those links, and then we submit a reconsideration request because Google will not entertain a reconsideration request or a disavow without any attempt to contact those third-party webmasters. And then we have a 100% batting average at cleaning up the links. I'm going to probably say, by the way, that that's better. When we started that off 2-3 years ago, our initial batting average was 89. We've been cleaning it up 100% ever since. The next question is, what is the average monthly SEO fee for a customer? So for me, it sort of depends on where you're niched. It sort of depends on where you're niched. Are you a low-cost provider? Are you a premium provider? Remember how I said one of our powerhouse agency partners only offered premium services. They don't sell anything below $2,000 retail, but we've got that plug-and-play reseller that sells things starting at $450 retail. So there is no true average monthly SEO fee for a customer because it really depends on what their needs are, how many pages they need optimized, the nature of the keywords that they need, and how fast. It's I like to compare this to the wedding analogy. Weddings can be fast, beautiful, or cheap. They can be 2 out of 3. They cannot be, they cannot be all 3. You want something fast and beautiful, it won't be cheap. You want something fast and cheap, it won't be beautiful. And you want something beautiful and cheap, it won't be fast. The same is true when it comes to average monthly spend. But I would say that as a general rule, if I were going to take it against our figures, I would say that the average retail SEO dollar value that we service probably amounts to roughly around $1,500 to $2,000. Our average retail fee, I would say, based off of the average business that we get. Next one. Can I ask how you guys get clients to commit after they keep getting cheap SEO companies calling them? Okay, how do we get clients to commit? Well, how do you get clients to commit?
I sell the difference.
Okay, so not bad. Uh, Getting clients to commit, I think, is a couple of things. We try to get them to fall in love with the personalities that work with them in the office. They know that, so for some of the partners that have flown here, they absolutely know the size of the office and how many people there are and how hard people work. They've seen it. Oh, and by the way, we're in a central business district, so it's not we're not a sweatshop. We're very premium. So we get the customers to commit and we get the clients to commit because they see the results. The methodology is effective. We make sure that our customers are not burned, that they don't get penalized. We review our methodology frequently. And so once they try the service, most people understand you get what you pay for. And I think they get under the impression that when something is too good to be true, meaning too cheap to be true, they're afraid that the quality might match. And they're right to be afraid because it probably will. And this is how we get them to commit. It's the results that speak for themselves, plus the relationships. The next question is,
when is the right time to give clients access to the dashboard? Okay, this one I like because, well, it says, because I assume that there will not be much to report in the beginning. Actually, you can show it in the beginning. What some of our resellers do, they use it as a demo account. So they're able to show, at least they don't have to show another customer, but they have data there to show them what it would actually look like. Or another way to do it is you can ask the client upon intake what keywords that they're currently ranking for, or you can figure out the keyword research for them. What you can do with the dashboard is you can plug it in. You can plug in all the keywords, then pick your 5 top competitors or their top 5 competitors and put it against it. Within 24 hours, you're able to show them where, or at least you're baselining where they are, and you can also see where they're up against when it comes to their competitors. So I really do believe you can show it at the beginning. Shouldn't be a problem. Next question is, 95% of the objections I receive from prospects is about pricing. They complain it's way too high.
I want to take this. Okay, so I'm going to try to avoid being snide in terms of being able to answer this question. The bottom line is you get what you pay for, right? I personally feel that I've been lucky enough to get into industries and companies that never tried to be the cheapest. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of being part of this organization where we're not trying to be the cheapest in the industry. Now, we understand from your perspective that 95% of the objections you receive from your prospects come from your pricing. But in reality, 95% of those people that object probably are not ranking 95% of the time. So they've gotten what they paid for. Right? You go with a cheap provider, you're probably not going to achieve significant results. Part of the reason we charge the way we charge is because there's a significant amount of technology backing up what we do, and there is a significant amount of research behind what we do. And, that costs money. It costs money for us to figure out what methodology works today because SEO always changes, it always evolves. And if we lag behind, we will not be able to continue to provide services that offer an edge to our customers and our agency partners. So the best way to overcome this is by offer them a premium experience, is the first, and B, it's about the results. It's the best way to overcome it. And then C, don't be afraid to walk away from a sale. Serious people that want to invest in the future of their company will eventually invest. SEO is not a question of if they will execute SEO on their site. It's a question of when. 90% of websites are not optimized. Eventually, they will be. So, they either work with you and invest in it today while they have an edge over the 90% that aren't optimized, or, they optimize later. But later is when they get the return on their investment. Now, the next one is I show them the value of the service provided with the brandable white papers, but it hasn't been working too well. What can I do? So let me put it this way. The brandable white papers are there for you to leave as an afterthought. Remember that the conversation is about you to pick their interest and find out what their needs are. The brandable white papers, the methodology explainer, and all of the documentation that we sent you are meant for you to leave on the pitch table, on the table before you leave to tell them, if you guys have any more questions, I'm leaving you documentation on the methodology, on the service.
Yeah.
And please review them and raise any questions you have. The objective of the brandable white paper is A, to eliminate question and answer time. That's one. But two is it encourages them to initiate contact with you over and over and over and over again, and allows you opportunities to build more trust. Also, don't be discouraged when they don't call you the next day going bonkers, meaning like, oh my God, this is like the SEO, manna from heaven. It's not, We believe that as with us, so with you, SEO customers take a while to decide on whether this is an investment they're willing to make. There was a retail client we worked on who took 8 months to decide before they decided to close. Right. So keep them warm. It's like it's like being a car salesman. Keep everybody warm, whether or not they've bought a car from you. Greet them Merry Christmas, greet their children Happy Birthday, and whatnot. But keep the relationship warm, because you need to be there when they're ready to buy, and they will be ready to buy.
Okay, I can take this question, so I get it all the time. What do you say when they ask for a high volume keyword to rank quickly? All right, so there's a misconception here. It doesn't mean that the keyword that has higher volume versus a keyword that's longer or makes more sense will rank faster. That's not about it. Normally when I speak to a client, what I want to do first is I want to ask them if they have access to their Google Analytics or Google Search Console. What I want to do is see the relationship currently of their website with the entire web, especially with their competitors. I want to see which keywords are currently generating traffic for them. And there are certain keywords that you can't actually see in Google Analytics that you can see in Google Search Console. So when you go inside, you're able to see the performance of a keyword. You get to see the click-through rate and the impressions. So how many people have seen that keyword and click through? That's a good tell. That's a good tell from my end. If that's a keyword you should try to approach. But you'll notice that with that keyword, let's say that keyword is volume 10, right? And it's a keyword with a local target or a city. And then when you go into Google Search Console, somewhere down the line, it's got the least impressions, but it's got amazing click-through. Right. This is a keyword you should leverage. It's a keyword you just got to figure out, is it on the right page? You'll notice also what the average ranking of that keyword is. Not knowing if it's on the same page where it's being targeted properly, move it. And that's sort of the conversation I'm having. Instead of saying, let's get all these keywords because they've got amazing volume. Doesn't mean that you're going to get all that traffic.
Or ranking equity might exist for that keyword already, which means you don't necessarily kick it out of the options. Yeah, now, there are a lot of other questions, but I'm only going to take one because I'm actually exceeding time now. But the last question I want to do is, somebody asked, how do you guys do your initial prospecting? And I'm going to teach you guys a growth hack. You might not like it, but, I'm going to be a little snide. We don't do prospecting. Customers sort of come to us because we rank for our keywords, and we strongly encourage you to do the same thing. You also want to invest in your business, so I would strongly recommend you also enroll it in an SEO package. Remember that if you're our partner, we won't necessarily rank you for free, but we will pay more attention because we know that when we rank our partners, the better they rank, the more customers they're able to close. So we don't exactly execute initial prospecting because after people execute a search, they come in. Wow, our sign-up volumes are in a few hundred. So it's a little difficult. Now, how do you replicate this? It's really simple. Get your website to rank. Enroll your own website in SEO. It's same as the case study I did earlier with the Australian partner. There was no way that they could leverage the term SEO city overnight, but in a matter of less than 100 days, they would be able to rank for the longer tail variation, which was search engine optimization city, and that allowed them to walk in as experts into their pitches. So I guess that's about it for me, and we've run out of time. I appreciate the presence of everybody in the audience. This is a particularly large audience, and these are awesome questions. I wish we had time to deal with all of them.
Feel free to reach out to us.
Right. If you guys still, if you're itching to get any of these questions answered, feel free to give us a call at our toll-free number, or our US number, or email us at info@SEOReseller.com. We'll do our best to answer you. But that's it. I'm Bernard, and I'm signing off. And
And I'm Will, and thanks, guys, for having us. Thank you.
till the next Boost Your Business webinar.